the grid. What's it feel like out there?
Awesome.
But how much do we know what's in his head?
Up close like this, Formula One is about sights, sounds and even smells. But on day 2 of the final test, with most of the teams having gained a decent baseline of reliability, that other and perhaps most important of the S's becomes the priority: speed. Would day 2 of the second test see Lewis Hamilton unleashed? Well, sort of, maybe. He was on a similar programme to his teammate the day before, including a qualifying simulation, but it wasn't identical. Did that explain why the world champion was 0.6 of a second slower than Nico Rosberg on the same tyres? Lewis, we get all excited about times at this time of year, but would you caution us against reading too much into it, comparing you to what Nico did yesterday? And how satisfied were you with the soft tyre run today?
I mean, I got my laps done. That was what's most important. I understood, got an understanding of where the car is not good and where the car is good, and gonna make some changes and then do the same hopefully on one of the next 2 days. But generally testing's been great. So.
And a lot of drivers are thinking Mercedes are maybe still well ahead of the pack. Bottas has said that, Alonso as well. Where do you think you sit? Is it going to take a very good car driver combination to stop you again this year?
Honestly, I haven't looked at where everyone else is. Everyone's naturally going to hype us up. Every single person's going to hype us up. But you really don't know what fuel load Ferrari are on. I think they've got a strong package. Even Williams look like they've got quite a strong package. So I wouldn't take any notice of what they're saying, to be honest.
One last little thing. Fernando Alonso's revealed his management tried to get him a Mercedes driver a couple of years ago. Would it have been a fun thing for you if you two had hooked up again as teammates late in your career? And would it be a good thing for F1 if you were to get back in a fast car again, be it at McLaren or elsewhere?
I don't really care who I race against. I'm happy with what we have here. I don't feel like it would make any difference, really. We've already raced together in the same car and got a result, so it's not like anything else needs proving.
Hamilton's old team, McLaren, will have to build on their best testing in a couple of years. Jenson Button sampled the upgraded Honda engine. He wasn't quite as quick as Fernando Alonso on Tuesday, but bar a suspension niggle, he ran almost trouble-free.
We've been able to do quite a few laps, and today and yesterday, still obviously want more. We know we need to keep pushing in terms of reliability, so we have no niggly problems at the first race. In terms of setup work this afternoon, it's been quite difficult, I think, for a lot of people because it's been so windy out there. I'm hoping that everyone was affected, not just us. But yes, new power unit which seems to be running smoother, which is good, and you can feel a difference, which is positive. Still a lot of work for us to do. We have 2 days left, and a lot of work for us to feel that we're ready for the first race. I think in terms of electronics and driver understanding of switch settings for the race start and what have you, that's all sorted. That's not a problem. It's more the general setup work that we haven't really done a lot of to really fine-tune the car.
So you can rule out the kind of penalties and grid penalties that you had last year. The car itself seems to be pretty quick around corners. How good is the chassis?
It's good. Still a lot of work needed to really have it in a competitive state. There are still areas which need some attention, and hopefully over the next 2 days we can learn more about the car and find a setup that works for us with the car, because we're not there yet.
I mean, Eric Boullier has talked of massive development over the course of the year. I know you're not going to predict podiums or anything like that by the end of it, but likewise, could you not rule any out maybe by the end of 2016?
I don't know. I think we've made that mistake before. You know, it's good to hear that we have massive upgrades all the way through the year, because it's exactly what we need. You know, this is a a good step forward from Honda. Obviously working very closely with Formula1 and Esso, and I think that they've made some good progress, but again, there's a lot more that we need to achieve before we're competitive.
Just one last thing from me. We won't speak to you again before Melbourne, but their ultimate aim must be to catch Mercedes or whoever is at the front. Have they moved on again? Do you sense, are they a little bit further away from the field even than they were at the start of last year?
To be fair, I don't think we've been looking that far up the grid really, because we're a long way behind them still. So I don't know. I think the first 2 or 3 teams really aren't for us to think about at the moment. I think the middle of the pack is very competitive, and I think that should be at least fun at the first race, even though we're not achieving what our ultimate goal is, which is obviously to win.
It seems unusual that you seem to have 3 specifications of engine in little more than, well, a couple of weeks. Yeah. Well, why is it set up like that?
Well, I think it's because we are not exactly where we want to be in terms of reliability and performance. So we are still trying to bring over, some new settings. But I think more or less the architecture of the engine now is fixed, and there is still more to come with some mapping or any kind of trick like this.
Yeah, but has version 2 been better than the previous version, and this one you're running better than that? Are you seeing performance gains?
We do see, yeah.
And in terms of the chassis, though, that looks particularly impressive around some of the twistier sections here. Have you got a good car?
The car, let's say the numbers we can find or read on the track shows the car is as per prediction. Still, we brought a new rear wing today, floor, brake ducts, new front wings. It's going to be a new car in Australia, but if the correlation is good, we should have a good car, yeah.
People are trying to place where you are and thinking you might be, well, maybe as good as the 4th best or 5th best car. What do you think?
I don't think yet. We don't know yet. We need to. I don't want to build any expectation. We need to wait and see what's going on with the others. We need to understand what's the performance from the other teams and the other cars, and then we'll see.
Just finally, and on this subject of qualifying, I know you're not going to comment on until we have an announcement, which we should have on Friday when the Motorsport Council meet. But does Formula 1 need to present itself as a professional sport, effectively, and a kind of halfway house measure if it were to be agreed? Would that reflect badly?
Yeah, I mean, the question is obviously one way. You can't say no to that. I think it's just because there is some discussion, and sometimes it's difficult to find a consensus between everybody and all the parties around the table. So finally we got one, so we should be happy to stick with and try to make it happen, rather than commentating too much on this.
What should qualifying be about finally? Should it be about finding the fastest car and putting them first, or is another solution to try and use qualifying to somehow mix up the grid? Is that what this rule is trying to get at?
I don't think so. I mean, the principle of this rule is obviously to make, at the end, the fastest car with the best driver will be at the front of the grid, It's true that by putting more pressure in the system, by squeezing a little bit the format, you may pay mistakes high price, and you may have a sort of mixed grid, or at least a different starting grid maybe at every race weekend. So, but still, if everything goes as planned, the best car or the fastest car will be on pole.
Ferrari have had reliability issues, mainly on Kimi Räikkönen's side of the garage. Sebastian Vettel, though, avoided problems today, but admitted his car is still a work in progress, with Melbourne fast approaching.
I think we are on our plan. Obviously, we had some days where we would like to run a bit more, but in the end, this is what the test is for. But overall, I think we are pretty happy where we are.
And what about the reliability problems Räikkönen had, fuel system and so on? Are you a little bit concerned about it?
No, I mean, not concerned. It's obviously these things you don't want to happen, but if they happen here, it's not a problem. If they happen in a couple of weeks, it's a bit worse. So it's not an issue. Also in the test, you take the time to look, and it takes time.
Will Williams be eyeing up Ferrari's scalp? Valtteri Bottas, a contender to replace Kimi Räikkönen next season, eclipsed Hamilton at the top of the timesheet on the super soft tyres. The FW38 emerging as an all-round package. Plenty of drivers have had a turn named after them. Only one footballer. Johan Cruyff visited Toro Rosso to see fellow countryman Max Verstappen, who he believes can become as big a Dutch icon. Carlos Sainz, meanwhile, was in their car and racked up more laps on day 2 than anyone else. Will Toro Rosso start the season ahead of Red Bull? They spent the morning in pit stop practice, hand-timed by Christian Horner himself. But there were engine issues for Ferrari customers. Marcus Ericsson's first day in the new Sauber was curtailed. Esteban Gutierrez saw his running in the Haas, all but wiped out.
We had the turbo issue from the beginning. We spotted and we decided to not push it forward. Obviously, the turbo is in a complicated part, so we had to dismantle everything, and that obviously took a lot of time away. Now that we know what were the issues, we are looking to resolve them and to have a smooth next 2 days, hopefully.
Because I know the mechanics worked overnight last night to get the car ready for today. Are they faced with a similar kind of shift?
Yes, it is not ideal for anybody. They've worked very hard. They've done also a very good job. I think it puts, this is all part of building up a new team. This is what we could expect from the beginning. Probably last week was a bit, too good to be true. So for a new team, so we have to keep, our feet on the ground and keep moving forward.
But if the Mercedes remains the form car, does Nico Rosberg remain the form driver? In the final stint of his afternoon race simulation, he posted a lap 2 seconds faster than last year's fastest lap during the race here. Father Keke seemed to like what he saw. 8 cars compiled 100 laps, counting the 2 Mercedes drivers together. So can this be a season without the crazy level of gearbox and engine penalties which have blighted the previous 2? Tyre data as well shouldn't be a problem now, although several teams, including Mercedes, will not experiment with the new ultra-soft rubber until the season starts. But the track action wasn't the limit to the day's drama. After the session ended, the drivers were summoned to a meeting in the FIA's motorhome, during which race director Charlie Whiting explained to them the changes likely to be in place for qualifying at the Australian Grand Prix, the first race of the season. And after the drivers left, I managed to grab a quick word with Sergio Perez.
We share our thoughts with Charlie. We're obviously not very happy with the new rules that they want to implement, and let's see if they can change it.
All I have to say, and most importantly, is that the fact that they are calling us to inform us about the situation, it's already a very good step as a GPDA, and I think, united, we're going to be better as a sport.
So, a lot's happened here in Barcelona on day 2 of this final test. Will day 3 be as eventful? Join us again here for all the reaction and the best images from the action on track. And stay tuned right now, because after the break, it's Ted with his notebook. Bye for now.
Enjoy Sky Sports F1 Live on all screens, on the go, and the best bits on demand.